And rugby chat here on New Zealand Sport Radio. I have got myself a Boundary Road Brewery beer ready to crack open at 5 p.m. on the dot to signal the end of the working day. And I've also got Stephen, who's joining me, but he is quite sensibly on the old waters. Boy, oh boy, he's the sensible one in the group. I'm obviously the irresponsible man who runs around. In the chat today, we're going to talk about, well, we've got some Moana, Pasifika and Fiji Drua news to talk about. Bunnings NPC. We haven't talked about Karifi yet. We meant to talk about him yesterday, so we'll see if we can fix that piece in. But hopefully you're all staying safe, getting vaccinated, and doing the right things under lockdown. It's 30 seconds so I can open my beer. How are you doing, Stephen?
Very good, thank you, Paul. Been a good day. Just rounded it off with a nice 15k bike ride and then a quick short ride with my granddaughter. So a little bit sweaty at the moment, but that's okay. Just about to guzzle some water, and it's only a half-hour show. So
it is 10 seconds to go, and I'm glad he's doing it remotely and not next to me since he's all sweaty. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crack open those beers, folks. There we go. And now with the traditional driving wall pour that I know that you all love to hate, which is the leaving the gas in the glass there, nice and frothy. I'll have a chocolate flake with it, please. Ah, dear, good. Before we get into the news, though, Stephen and I are working on looking at the players and a potential squad for Moana Pasifika. So look out for the video talking about that. Stephen's put some really good screenshots up on the New Zealand Sport Radio Facebook page, so you can catch that over there to see which players might be eligible for that team. Also, folks, this has been going out just on Twitter until today. Now I've spread it out to also Facebook and YouTube. Initially put it just on Twitter, because I thought it'd be more of us just chatting about what we were doing, and it wouldn't be that. It was a bit more of a kind of a thing that sort of didn't have a proper sort of shelf life. Now it's more kind of a daily news show, but not really reporting about it, but talking about opinions of it or the implications of it. And hence, I thought I'll put it back onto Facebook and YouTube. Hi, Simon. Good to see you on YouTube. Yep, I know you're happy to have it back on there. You've been campaigning to get it moved. So looking at, as I say, early on, we've had this some news through the RNZ website talking about Moana Pasifika and also Fiji Drua. And one of the things that that's come out on there, basically backing up what has been said previously, which is that 80% of the Moana Pasifika team have to be eligible for Fiji and Samoa, and also the Cook Islands. Actually, it doesn't mention Cook Islands in the article, but I believe it's also them as well. What does that mean? That means 31 players out of the 38 are that, and 7 players can be available to up to 7 players can be non-eligible. They're going to need that kind of mix early on, aren't they, Stephen?
Oh, very, very much so. Paul, been doing a little bit of market research a little bit earlier today, and obviously I've put those squads up, but I've just fired down a whole lot of names just in terms of the forwards. And gee, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of talent. I suppose the key is you've got to ask yourself, question is there circumstances? Because it's a bit like being in a candy store, but there's only certain candy that you can actually buy, but there's still a hell of a lot of talent around. And I actually see Moana Pasifika have actually already signed a player, I believe, Hareeti Hetel, who's a New Zealand Māori's prop, little known, but he was in the New Zealand Māori squad, I think, not last year, maybe back in 2019. I can recall seeing him a part of the Māori squad that toured Fiji and also played a home game against New Zealand Māori in Rotorua. So there you go. Is that their first signing? Who knows? But just some of those reports we're hearing, Paul, they're pretty advanced in their signings, which is basically a refreshing surprise.
Well, look, they had a whole bunch of names that were lined up, the players that were interested, but because it took so long for them to get the unconditional license, those other players couldn't wait around and had to take other options when they came on the table in other places. So yes, a lot of talent that they had lined up has disappeared. because obviously they need to pay their own mortgages, look after their families, etc. So hopefully, whilst there will be advanced in some places, and in other areas they'll still probably be searching for one or two, you'd think. But it would be nice to get some kind of announcements rather than it just being rumours. Even just getting one would show that the ball was rolling, which would be nice to see. Also, news on the Drua that unfortunately, due to COVID. Oh, actually, the final piece about the Moana one was that what I didn't actually realise was that I've gone blank as to that Michael Jones was the chairman of the Moana Pasifika, which is interesting, considering that I believe he's on the New Zealand board as well. So be a little bit careful there of conflicts of interest, but with that one now, and what really said was that they want to play in Samoa and Tonga, but probably in year one that would not happen. Now, all the talk has been they'll be based out of Mount Smart, and I think that's where they'll play pretty much all their games next year. I guess it'll depend on stadium availability, because obviously the Warriors also play there. But from year two onwards, they're looking at taking some, if not all, their games to Samoa and Tonga, which will be good to see. Similarly, unfortunately, due to COVID, Fiji Drua can't play in Fiji for the first year. So it looks like there are two options on the table currently being looked at. One is the Sunshine Coast over in Australia, which I think is in Queensland, which I think is a lot of talk has been around whether there was or the Rugby Australia has always said they'd look like them there, or perhaps even in West Sydney, to be based there. Now, so that's obviously being talked about a lot. A little bit of surprise is they might be up in Whangarei, up north there, which obviously, from a travel point of view, having a team in Whangarei, a team at Eden Park, and a team at Mount Smart would make that easy. But yeah, I do think what I say, that I do see that I do think the Australian one is probably from an optics point of view. Look, there's been a lot of arguments between Australia and New Zealand about this. I think some people see it as kind of like New Zealand's competition that they've kind of invited Australia to, but they've been making a strong effort recently to try and make it a more balanced, to make it look like a cooperation tournament rather than a New Zealand one controlled. So having 7 teams in New Zealand would be a bad look from an optics point of view, I think. But yeah, it's unfortunate for Fiji that they can't. For Drua, they can't be based in Fiji. Stephen.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it all up. Really, I think the smart money's on Queensland at this stage. Obviously, the weather will. I think they'll probably enjoy the warmer conditions on the Sunshine Coast, as well as probably having facilities that are probably more akin to what a professional team requires. I know Whangarei is an option, and Northern have just built a high performance centre. Whether they'd be willing to share with their own local Northern Taniwha team, I guess we'd just have to wait and see. But yeah, smart money says that they're going to be headed to Queensland.
Well, you got to say, obviously the Taniwha aren't actually using it until later in the year for the Bunnings NPC, right? So for the early part, it would actually be old boys who use it from memory, because it's during the first half of the year, during the club season, and you could easily see the Fiji Drua using it during the daytime, and old boys using it in the evenings, because their practice will be Tuesday, Thursday, right? And then the actual games would be at the I want to call it Seminoff Stadium, but it's not, because they're going to change the sponsor. I've gone blank, but anyway. Whereas old boys will play on that high performance centre, not at the ground. So there shouldn't be too much of a clash from that point of view. Simon says, what's the Fiji population up there? Look, I don't think it's about population and about being near fans. It's just about having somewhere that works that's financially viable, and that works from in a temporary home before they go back to Fiji. It's not a long term thing.
On saying all that, I know that the Northern public, if given the opportunity, would probably adopt the Drua. There is a big, reasonably large Fijian community in North at the minute. Unfortunately, I can't give you numbers, but I know if given the opportunity, as we probably saw during previous World Cups in New Zealand, you'll find that Whangarei probably adopted a couple of sides back in the day. I think Tonga might have even played a couple of games up in Whangarei at the previous World Cup in 2011. So, I think it's an option if things don't play out in Queensland.
Yeah, at least, which is a good sign. And I say that the facilities will be there because obviously the Women's Rugby World Cup is going to be up there next year. So a lot of things again, it'd be just reusing existing facilities, not having to build anything from scratch, which is obviously a good thing.
The only really caveat I could probably see, Paul, is I'm not too sure how the Blues would react to maybe one of their provincial unions being a base for the Drua. But on saying that, I'll probably say, well, there are not too many Blues games actually played up in Whangarei these days, if you know what I mean. It's a bit of a shot there, but there you go.
Yeah, and whilst for when Moana Pasifika, whilst there was some reports last year around working with with counties Manukau about the sort of coaching and facilities point of view, my understanding is that that's not going to be happening, and that so again, county is very aware of their relationship with the Chiefs in that from that point of view as well. But also there was a chance of Moana actually being based down at Navigation Home Stadium but it looks like that Mount Smart is going to be the best one for that one. So Simon said, roughly Auckland will have potentially 14 games to share. Yes, we will do. Yeah, seven home games for Moana Pasifika and 7 home games for the Blues in the Auckland region. So plenty of rugby being potentially hosted within the sort of Auckland area on that count. So that's kind of the news from there on that side of things. Looks like the Bunnings NPC has got a tentative start date of around about the 24th of September. That is part of that is it requires that they get to level 2 weeks before that, because whilst players are staying fit, they're not playing contact fit. And I think we had a chat with Boa the other day about how quickly the professional teams could return. I was expecting to be a week, but now it looks like it's going to be 2 weeks. Some of the provinces apparently pushed for 2 weeks, not 1 week, which has pushed things out a bit on that one. So 5 rounds missed by that stage, Stephen. That's a lot of games to catch up on.
Yeah, it certainly is, and during this lockdown period, you'd sort of hope the players have been doing something in terms of a training regime. I was fortunate enough to have a little bit of intel from somebody involved in the North Harbour Union setup. Now, apparently, all the players before lockdown were basically given GPS devices where they could basically do their own training, but these devices actually keep a track of what the players are actually doing during the lockdown. Individually keeps, it takes all the measurables, shall I say. And from what I understand, in the North Harbour setup, it's created quite a bit of competition amongst the players. So it's great to hear that sort of feedback.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously there's the basic watch, things like your Apple Watch, which can do that sort of thing, but there are also more professional setups that go beyond that as well. So it's and I know in cycling it's become a bit of an issue as to do athletes want to be monitored 24 hours a day by their teams. So it's a bit of there's whilst it does bring some benefits, there are some question marks around it. Looks like Ian is trying to join us in the live chat. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like you come through properly, Ian. Might need to kick you out and come back and have another go, mate, on that one, because it doesn't look like you come through. There we go. So interesting one there on that. So 5 weeks missed. Look, apparently they're looking at the 21st of November being the final. but it can go back to the 28th of November. So that's adding 4 weeks on. So there'll be at least one midweek game for every single team. Now, with counties, Auckland and North Harbour all likely to take longer, or will take longer, let's be honest, to get to level 2. I don't think I'm sort of putting words into any government minister's mouths by saying that. That they will have to catch up games. So they will be looking at having more midweek games than the other teams to try and catch up. So, it's going to be interesting. But one of those midweek games is looking like being Southland versus Canterbury on the 28th of September. So, it's going to be fun trying to juggle and figure out when all the games are, Stephen, and try and getting to them as well. That's me being pretty much unemployed. Folks, don't forget you can support me by going to patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio so I can eat. But for folks with full-time jobs, getting to these games is going to be a bit difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be the hard one. But you know what? I think by then we'll be super excited to see some rugby of sorts. Even though I would imagine originally a lot of these teams will be playing in lockdown level 2, which means no crowds at the end of the day. But listen, we'll have some rugby locally to support.
Yeah, Aaron's saying, look, with limited crowds at level 2, how about playing double headers at the same venue? Look, I'm not sure that's required. I think all of the different places or all the different provinces have got their own venues that they can use. I don't think lack of venues is going to be an issue, or lack of broadcast units is going to be an issue for it. So I think, I don't think that's needed. And in some ways, that would be extra cost of travel for a lot of for teams. So I don't think we need to go down that route. You can still do double headers on the TV, one after the other, just not at the same ground. I don't think we'll see double headers. What we might see is more double headers on the Farah Palmer Cup side to try and fit them in. But I don't think we'll see it on the. I don't think we'll see different teams at the same venue. Probably not anyway. You happy? You excited about those midweek games, and what about the toll on players? Is going to be an issue?
Oh, listen, I think it is what it is. You know, just gotta. I think for a lot of the players, I think they'd probably enjoy it because it just means that it's an extra training night that they miss. I know for some teams like the union that I follow, Northland, this break has probably been a little bit of a godsend with the way the season had started in and around injuries. So it might give them an opportunity to get some kettle back in the paddock. I know the likes of Tom Robinson, who had a 6-week stand down. Well, based on the start of the 24th of September. Well, that'll be 6 weeks well and truly past. But on saying that, I think he's got to have another assessment after those 6 weeks as well. But any side with injuries, it's gonna suit them. Any teams that have got players back is going to suit them. The downside for these players, I think, will work out pretty quickly who's been doing the work during lockdown.
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, there are certain players. And look, we know these certain players we've heard of players who are less good at looking after themselves than others. I'm not right suggesting perhaps a tens tournament where we can have a big centre and have a festival atmosphere. Look, no, I think that sevens is the better way, or is the way that the provincial unions would want to go. I can't see provincial unions wanting to do it to mix in a tens tournament as well. I think that would just be an extra. I'm not sure you get the extra. There'll be enough income to cover the cost of that. Personally,
I go along. Paul, it'd be remiss of us to also mention the Farah Palmer Cup. Was there any word on the return of the Farah Palmer Cup?
I've not seen anything on that front. Obviously with the Farah Palmer Cup being with much more amateur players, or semi-professional. Actually, yeah, well, no, amateur players. Let's be honest. Rather than the semi-professional level that the NPC is. Obviously, the midweek games are going to be much harder for those teams to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if we miss out on some games for that one. Also, the Black Ferns play in the Farah Palmer Cup, and they're all off to do a November tour in Europe. So that would be it's going to be a big impact on teams come finals time.
I was going to say, Paul, the upside is, at least with the Farah Palmer Cup, we are 5 rounds in, so there's only 2 rounds to go at this particular stage. So if you sort of look at the top 4 from each, they might just go straight to semi-finals or quarterfinals. Is it, Paul?
Well, semi-finals, I'm pretty sure this year, but
semi-finals, yeah.
Semi-finals in the Premiership. I think the Championship has a different setup where there's more games, but I could be wrong on that one. Yeah, as you say, they started their season earlier, so it's been less of it. So less of an impact. Well, less rounds to catch up on, shall I say? On that side of things, I'm just trying accidentally getting the wrong tournaments here. I'm trying to find the Farah Palmer Cup fixtures, but I can't at the moment. But that one, they've got less. That's it. They started earlier, so they've got less to catch up on. We are definitely going to extend out, Aaron, to from the original date. So originally, the Bunnings NPC finals were supposed to be the 23rd of October, but that will be moved to the 21st of November, giving us 4 extra weeks. But we've lost 5 rounds, so we've got more to catch up. But we will. So there will definitely be midweek games in there as part of that one. Really, on Nocturnal Rights' idea of a tens tournament, I wouldn't mind seeing each province host a club tens tournament as a pre-season thing to warm up for the club rugby. I think that could be a fun one to have that festival and have one in each. So I said, one in each province for the clubs to do. That could be fun. I don't know if there's a public holiday around just before the beginning of the club season or not, but that would be perfect for a kind of 3-day weekend of tens would be fun. I know we'd get along to those, wouldn't we, Stephen?
Oh, absolutely. That'd be a lot of fun, because we probably know that the big boys won't be covering those particular events. Listen, just on the club season, I think it's quite fantastic that this year, unlike 2020, we didn't quite, for a lot of clubs, they didn't get quite to their finals, if you know what I mean. In fact, a lot of those finals were cut off at the knees, but at least in 2021, we've seen most of the club finals around the country completed.
We have, and but this year has been a bit of a. We've unfortunately lost some junior rugby finals and junior rugby last couple of weekends due to this lockdown. Unfortunately, I've tried to. I try to get the Taranaki CEO on, but he hasn't come back to me. I'll try and get another CEO on to have a chat, perhaps in one of these 5 p.m. slots if we can, to talk about what the impact has been for them out of this lockdown, because obviously it's been a lot shorter than the lockdown last year, and I think playing all the games is imperative because of and even if they don't get gate receipts for these, just to make sure they don't have to give back any sponsorship monies, which because they need to hold on to. Again, they all lost, or pretty much all of them made people redundant last year and slimmed down. We don't want to have to happen again this year, if at all possible, on that front. Just a quick word then on Karifi. He has been a very, very silly boy, him and his partner. So during lockdown, it's 2 weekends ago now, he had a couple of friends round, or a couple of people around for a party, so 4 friends round, and then went out on to another party elsewhere. Now they said where alcohol was involved. Wow, shock horror. You know what? 20-year-olds going out somewhere and there was some alcohol involved? Really? You surprised me, sir. So I think the alcohol bit is irrelevant. And there's no suggestion here that they got drunk and did anything stupid. from that point of view, they just did silly things by mixing when they shouldn't have done. Basically. So look, folks, look, if you by now, if you haven't figured out what level 4 is, seriously, look, just behave, please, and let's get out of this other side. You might not agree, you might think it's a hoax, whatever, but just behave and let's just get out of it. They've both been fined $300, which is the standard COVID breach fine. And we'll have to wait and see what sanction Wellington Rugby give him. But being captain of Wellington Rugby, having been on a video saying, behave, folks, in lockdown, and please do your best.
I think you've said it all, Paul. You really have. And I know the New Zealand Rugby Union would be really disappointed. It's only a matter of weeks. We've all heard about the adverse publicity they've received around a guy who plays for the Highlanders, Frizzell. And of course, on the back of this, it's certainly not what the game needs at the minute. You've basically got to be crystal clear about all the processes that are out there if you're a professional rugby player. Even more so if you're acting as a champion for your union. That makes it even dumber than anything else. And hey, I also want to say, just everybody else, just do the right thing, because if we want to be watching rugby again on the 24th of September, everybody needs to be doing the right thing, no matter what part of the country you're in.
Yeah, and look, it will be a slap on the wrist. Karifi got caught; others may not have. I'm pretty sure others haven't been caught that have done it. I'm sure people have disobeyed. Thankfully, the majority of us have behaved, and that's the important thing. Let's concentrate on the ones that have behaved. And when I say we'll see what Wellington Rugby do, I'm not suggesting for any minute that he should lose his contract or be banned from rugby forever or anything silly like that. Potentially lose the captaincy of Wellington because look. And maybe miss a game at most, but it is slap on the wrist things. He's come out and said sorry. He said I was immature and silly and immature and selfish. I take responsibility. He said the right things. Let's slap on the wrist and move on. I'm not suggesting any sort of big fines and things. And just like another people might go, whoa, only $300. Well, again, look, let's not. Let's concentrate on the fact that most of us have behaved, and it has been, and the majority have, and that's good to see, basically. Cool. So looking forward to this weekend, folks. Don't forget, we've got the Bledisloe Cup 3. I'll be live straight after that with post-match reaction. Paul, you're reasonable, Paul. Some are not and want the stockade and rotten tomatoes. Absolutely, and I don't mind throwing some. I wouldn't mind throwing some rotten tomatoes as well, but for charity rather than just to hurt somebody. And Aaron says someone probably wrote it for him, the apology. And look, on that point, there does seem to be this kind of this catchphrase now in all of these that I take responsibility for this, and I do wonder kind of what that really means, because we've seen a bunch of people say that, but in practice, what does that mean? So we'll have to wait and see what's on that one. LB says slapping the wrist for him, but Frizzell and Reece should have been banned. Look, we'll have to wait and see on the Frizzell. On the police, that court case is still ongoing. On the Reece one, look, I know that there was a lot of work done with him outside the public eye that hasn't been reported on, and I think more transparency around that, around the counselling, around the work that he did on himself off the pitch, would alleviate, would shine a light on how much he has done to control what he knows was a wrong thing to do, but unfortunately, that's not the way that New Zealand rugby works. They try and keep things as hush hush and behind closed doors as possible. But I do know a lot of work has been done with him, with Severus, around what happened between him and his partner. let's say the Frizzell one, it's still going through the courts. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Yeah, as Nocturnal Right says, yeah, hang fire on Frizzell before judgment. Well, well, he's admitted guilt, so I think we can fairly safely say that on judgment, it's a question about the punishment. We have to hang fire on that one.
Yeah.
And I guess Aaron's here. Yeah, tomorrow's fish and chip paper soon enough. Yeah, and I guess one of the things that we do as rugby fanatics is that we kind of remember all of this stuff, whereas we've got to remember that 99% of the population doesn't. The casual fans, they do move on, whereas a lot of us we don't. From this one. Cool. Don't forget, folks, this evening, 8 p.m, we've got the Standoff show, which is our NRL show. So do tune in for that one. Stephen, I guess it's hold fire until we get through to the weekend and the Bledisloe Cup 3.
Oh, absolutely. Can't wait. In fact, I actually can't wait for Brad's show tonight, because I've actually got a couple of league questions to throw his way as well. And that's in and around judiciary, because obviously we saw a very well-publicised tackle Latrell Mitchell on Joseph Manu, and it was a shocker. It seems as though everybody's got an opinion on that. But, I asked this question, do we actually really go out and learn to tackle like that when we're practicing? Heck no. Not in a million years do we learn to tackle like that. So looking forward to Brad's show tonight, but more importantly, looking forward to the weekend. And listen, we've put that post up in and around Moana Pasifika. Listen, it's just our idea to throw it out there, cast the net. We've got a whole lot of, we've got 14 squads posted. There's a lot of players to get through. If you think there's some names in there that deserve to be in this Moana Pasifika team for 2022, chuck their names out there. Chuck their names out there, because I think it's going to. To me, they've got a lot of talent to actually pick from. I suppose the real key is it's about who is available, and as you said previously, Paul, who they may have missed out. But listen, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm super excited about that team being named. It sounds like it isn't too far away.
It does. Well, at least the first few names aren't too far away. Hopefully, we'll see about Brad's view on the old tackle on that one. Folks, this will be coming to you. Well, the Lockdown Beers and Rugby Chat will be coming to you every single day, apart from Sunday actually, because kickoff for the Wallabies game for the Bledisloe Cup 3, is at 6 p.m. I think a 5 p.m. show before that is probably not required. So we'll probably take a break on Sunday, unless there's some massive news item that's come out that we need to talk about. But otherwise, do join me here at 5 p.m.